Welcome to the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes with business leaders to uncover their vision, strategies, and challenges they face along the way. My name is Chris Bruner. I'm the CEO of Simple AI Solutions and the host of today's podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have Brad Liber, owner of Caliber, a premier luxury home builder in Denver. Brad, thank you for being here. Can you introduce yourself? Tell our listeners a little about you, your business, and the customers you serve.
Certainly, Chris. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I am a native Ohioan and moved to Colorado in '96 for college and learned that my desires in the pursuit of fun. So post-college, I ended up in Vail, Colorado as a ski instructor for a couple of years and found myself back in Denver, landed in the real estate game, and just kind of became addicted to it. I saw the fun in it with working with the clients and the architecture that it really kind of sucked me in, and here I am 20 some years later.
Yeah, that's exciting. And your company, Caliber, you can you talk a little bit about how the the product you serve, right? Building custom homes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our clients that we serve, we are, as you mentioned, we're, premier luxury builders, what we classify ourselves as. Our intention is to offer a service to clients whom, often have services at their fingertips. They are potentially have family offices to where they have financial advisors, they might have personal assistants, um, and they just demand and or require or prefer to have um, white glove service. So we think we are the um, family office, if you will, for the home building industry. Um, and we kind of say the word frictionless. Our goal is to be as frictionless to their lifestyle as possible. They outsource all these our clients typically outsource almost all the things they need in their life to be serviced for them. And home building happens to be, one of the largest investments they'll make and the most time consuming and the most personal, really. And we want to make sure that is as frictionless as possible so they can respect their time versus demand it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like creating a really unique experience with the home building. That's cool. What was the original idea that led you to start Caliber, and how has that vision shaped the company's culture today?
I think the root is it starts in. I think it just kind of becomes back to that root of fun. It's just something fun and optimism, right? You know, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, not in this industry at all, automotive, restaurant businesses, and so I had just a desire to work for myself. I think unknowingly, and I was candidly, I was working for someone in 2004, 2005, and that someone and I just didn't get along. And really, it was probably the best and worst experience all wrapped into one. He kind of showed me what not to be, who not to be, what not to do. And at the end, we shook hands and parted ways in the most awkward way. And he just said, I think you should probably go do something else for a living because I don't think this is for you. And that night is when Caliber was created as a state licensed company. And that was the impetus to really drive me to say, you know what, I think you're entirely wrong. And so that was kind of where the optimism comes in. And I think the underlying fire to all of it is continually, someone telling me 20 years ago that I can't do it. And here we are today. We believe, doing it as good, if not better than most, and hoping to continue to prove that to the public.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool to hear the success you've had and the fire behind it. That's super cool. What nowadays, what do you enjoy most about running your business?
Um, I think the uniqueness of every day, um, and the clients we serve. It's they're really interesting people. A lot of times in this space, clients are kind of viewed as what makes your life miserable, right? And for us, we try to perceive it differently and appreciate, again, respecting their time, their needs, their services, and servicing it. And oftentimes, why they're perceived as, miserable as one of the components to building a home is the client, because they sometimes are they can get into your business, if you will, and they want to ask questions, and you're spending a lot of money of theirs. But so we flip it on the, and really we look and find out what makes them tick and what makes them happy. And when you kind of crack that code, right? These very intelligent, usually very professional, very successful people at this, and with the kind of money they're spending on these homes. And if you believe that you can align with them and provide them something that they didn't expect to get, I think that's, again, that's that game of tell me I can't and we will. And the client, I think, is always kind of a little bit, what's the word, skeptical. And so the fun is really being able to prove that we are the honest, we are the truth, we are the people that are going to be fiduciary responsible for your money. And I think that's where the fun lies, right underneath that. Just and then giving them something after that. I think it's knowing their kids are going to live in this bedroom and that they're going to have Thanksgiving in this home, and then you get to knock on their door and hand them a gift, and or drive down the street and see them playing catch in the yard, right? That's the fun. That's what keeps us going in this business.
Yeah, no, it sounds really rewarding at that point. That's really neat. Thinking a little bit about trends within the industry, what are some of the biggest changes you're seeing in the luxury home building market right now? Things that maybe other business owners would be interested in knowing about.
Other business owners in different industries.
In similar industries, the home building industry, but specifically, maybe what are you seeing like changes? Are you seeing any changes in trends within the industry right now?
Yeah, I don't think there's any mysteries, right? I think, more and more as technology advances, there's really nothing to be hidden, right? You can Google shares everything. It provides whatever you need right at your fingertips. AI is, of course, something on the forefront, but again, unless you're living in a hole, you're gonna hear about it, or it's gonna hit your inbox somehow, because it's finding you. You don't even have to look for it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that makes
so
sense.
there's no mystery, and I think ev evolutionarily, if that's a word, evolutionarily, we're kind of changing ourselves daily, and not so much that the industry is evolving in the same way, but for us, again, it's we're continually trying to figure out how to communicate better, and market better, and those are two things I think this industry honestly overlooks tremendously, and that we're not experts at it. We're just kind of cracking into that code and figuring out if how we do it best. But leveraging technology has allowed us to embrace that as a smaller company, and try to really make sure that we are recognized, trusted, and visible. So when someone does want to knock on our door, they know who they're talking to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are there specific tools or strategies with that technology that has really been helpful for you guys?
Um, again, I don't think we're you know reinventing the wheel so much. Unfortunately, we're leveraging virtual services, right? That's a thing this industry seems to be lacking too. It seems to be such a hands-on, tool-based. You have to be present to know how to run a construction company, and um, we've outsourced some of our sources virtually. So we have virtually, meaning offshore,
Mhm.
not AI. Um, but and that's a leverage I think is underserved here in this business. And so we've really taken that to heart. That's helped us with our communication and our marketing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's a good strategy. Definitely able to leverage a lot using those types of virtual assistants.
And I
Um,
feel like don't ignore AI, right? We're always open to it. We're kind of welcoming it into our workflow, and we do. we do take on tidbits here and there. Chat, of course, is useful in so many ways. But the software that we use Builder as a software as a main tool, and they're embracing AI. So we're kind of getting AI fed to us again through our current software providers, and we're open to really leveraging the extent of those.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it is kind of weaving its way into most businesses where it's changing a lot of the ways that the newer strategies come up with a wide variety of industries. And so, yeah, that makes sense. Um, Moving a little bit to the current state, what is currently working really well for you at Caliber, and what makes you most proud of your team?
Um, it might sound circular in my answers. The happiness of our clients is kind of the end result of what we're trying to do. And I think the way we treat them and the way, again, we're not perfect, but the intent of how we go about trying to treat them in communication, in execution, right? Those are at probably the highest of importance to us in the last couple of years. Um, and if I don't answer your question directly, I apologize, but that is kind of where we are and what we're focusing on most.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Having that high, it seems like that's like the foundation of the experience you're bringing is having that customer service at a very high level. And so, yeah, that totally makes sense. What about challenges, right? What are some of the maybe biggest headaches or bottlenecks or things that maybe take up too much time in the business? What are some challenges you guys are facing?
A lot of it is for us is who we engage with or who we're aligned with, not by choice, potentially with architecture firms, interior design firms, engineering firms, consultants is what we call them, outside of our own office and our own control, and then largely due to our city government building review process. They're outside of our office, they're outside of our control, but we find ourselves managing them um, intensely because they are notoriously, creatives are just not meant, they don't necessarily follow strict dates, right? They need to get their feelings and their thoughts and their designs out on paper. It might not be tomorrow. It might need another day before it really hits them and it shows up. So I can respect that, but it's that is where I think our bottleneck is and our challenges are is really outside of our operation, but who we need and they're critical to the operation to get the build done and execute properly. But it's it's the timeline on permits is months and months longer than it needs to be. And I know that's been in the public eye now and it's being addressed, but it's been a problem.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I could see how especially creating such a unique homes for so many different people, like having create the creativity aspect can I can see how that can be time consuming and tough. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Could you walk us through a typical client process? From maybe like the first call to the finished home. Doesn't You don't need to go into a ton of detail because I'm sure it's a very long process. But just generically, like tell us a little bit about like what that process looks like for you.
Sure. Yeah. So, uh, first call, we respond and it is a qualification conversation. Um, Crudely, how much money do you have? When do you want to do it? Where is it? And who's the decision makers, right? Like, are we talking to all of them or is it just one? Are we going to have a 3 hour conversation with you? Then we have to talk to your spouse and that's going to be a different story. So let's get them all in the same place. So that's a big important. We kind of hit it straight on the head. Let's talk numbers straight away because if you don't have the money to do what your vision is, let's either understand your you appreciate that and you'll downsize your vision, or you'll upsize your budget, or you'll just go somewhere else and do something else. Um, but once we get over that first call and we get into that first meeting, we move quickly into, again, back me up if you think I'm going too far forward, but we move into what we call an intent to build contract. And that for us is your commitment to us commitment to you. We slot you in our schedule to understand that if you're meeting with us today and your scope of work is X, that we probably should start you in 6, 7, 8 months. Your home, and therefore um, the deposit you provide in that contract is kind of saving your seat 6, 8 months from now. And then we know you're committed, right? So you're looking to us to guide you through the process. You're not shopping us intensely around town. And then really kind of where our creative ability, where our part of our secret sauce, I think, is our cultural aspect of how we morph into who you are. So we then go through a 6 months design phase with you. It doesn't have to be, but it typically lasts that long. Um, and we sit down with you through every meeting with the architect to begin with, and interior designs, and we understand why the home's being drawn the way it is. We help guide it based on a monetary decision, based on experience, and we understand then why you choose what you want and why it's drawn. So if we don't do that, we just get a set of plans 6 months down the road, and you say, "Here's my home." We don't know how to help you value engineer it. We don't know why you have a swing in the corner of the room that doesn't make any sense, logically, but you want it, right? And if that's what you want, we're okay with that, right? Or the fish tank in the middle of the kitchen, who knows what it is. Um, but we would know that if we go through this process with us, and then we would know how to install it properly. So we go down that phase, and through that process, we're constantly price checking. So there's 3 steps to price check. The first one is that gut check. Typically it's, I saw a house down the street, or I saw a house in this magazine, and we love it. So we'll give a quick kind of thumb in the air check of, that looks like, or we built that and we know what that costs. That's a 2 million, $3, $4 million build. Um, does that sound about right? And if it seems right, then we move on and we start down the road, and then we get, phase one, we get some plans, some studies, some massing done, and we go back to a quick study on the plans and say, this is now a $4.5 million build. Are you okay with that still? Yes, move on.
Mm.
And at that point, we've kind of moved past that. Like, we know we're in the ballpark, and now we're really dialing into the details to make sure we understand the plans and they're coming close to permit ready. And then at that point, we're bringing the budget to about 90% accurate. So we know, the funding's there, the money that's needed is there, and then we can get a permit and we'll start in 90 days. Um, right about that time is when we move into our contract, our official build contract. So it takes it from kind of development phase to actual construction. And at that point, um, it is what it is. At that, we're just locking, we're
Mhm.
locking horns at that point, and we're putting a shovel in the ground and we're going for it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Exciting part.
Yeah, right. So that first 6 months, though, is critical. It's everything to the home. And if that's missed or mismanaged or miscommunicated, it is the last 12 months, 18 months is a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, it's a very, very that's a great, sounds like a great process. Well dialed in. Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to kind of shift a little bit to the future, where your business is heading, right? Looking ahead, maybe like 12 months down the road, what are specific, measurable goals that you are trying to achieve with Caliber?
I think our goal, circular, if you will, again, our goal is to make the happiest clients you could possibly create out of this historically tough experience. Um, and I think the outcome, the goal is to be building less homes of higher quality with better clients. Really just kind of wringing that towel out, right? Just getting it tight and tighter to where you just know, we're kind of vetting the client while they're vetting us, right? Is this who we want to spend the next 2 years with, right?
Mm.
Is this the quality of home and the interest level of where we want to build logistically and in the environments that we want to work too, right? Because the culture around here, I think, is paramount to have, a happy team is to only be able to offer a happy experience. Um,
Yeah.
so the measurable, I'd say, is really, it's the surveys back to know that we couldn't be doing our clients any better justice along the way and earning that trust and then therefore um, doing less, obviously we prefer to make as much money as we can and it's kind of in the back of my mind. If you do good work, execute properly, the money's going to be there.
Mm.
um, but do less projects, do more interesting projects, work with more interesting people. And that we do have like specific tangibles. We have revenue goals. We have, different things like that that, guide us to that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Um, when you are thinking about like scaling, with those, I guess those more specific types of clients, how do like what is your plan to like I guess find clients like that, like grow in that way? You want to do, I guess, less houses, but a higher caliber of houses. And so like what how do you pursue those types of clients or find those types of clients?
There's sweat equity to get there, right? So as you begin, 20 years ago, we were doing basements, we were doing, calling the Home Depot remodels, right? Whatever it took to get there. But at the end of the day, it's the referral that keeps allowing us to stay busy and then grow our basis of our volume and our price point. So I might need you to ask that question again.
Yeah, just like what you are pursuing a specific type of client, higher end houses and maybe less houses in number, but just higher quality, higher houses. Maybe quality is the wrong word, but like just the plan on how to find those clients and how to pursue those higher end clients.
Yeah, I mean it's no secret, right? We're trying to be where they want to be. We're trying to hang out where they hang out, right? We want to be present in their eyes, and we want to make sure that their trusted advisors, who they often have a handful of in their life, know of us. So when they ask their financial advisor who manages tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, we want to build a house. That guy, that gentleman, that person thinks of us, and
Mm.
they've already spent time studying us, visiting our homes, maybe been down that process with us personally, and then they have no problem handing us off as a trusted advisor. So um, we're trying to shadow and live their life, mimic where they are, go where they go, and understand them really as we're studying their habits to know to then how to service them the way they expect, right? So we want to have as many people staffed to a project that makes our client feel like they are completely corralled, right, by us to where they, everywhere they look, they've got an answer, they got someone to talk to, and that allows, as we prove that, we're allowed to build larger homes, trusted to build larger homes. And of course, the revenue then is there to support that in
Mm.
our service for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. That's yeah, that's very that's cool. That's really cool to hear just where you want to take the business. So yeah, that's super cool. Well, Brad, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. The insights you brought, I think, are very valuable. Before we go, can you share to our listeners where they can find more about Caliber and the services you give?
Sure. Yeah, we're www.caliber.co. That's a critical piece. .co, not .com. We are on Instagram at Caliber Luxury Homes. We are on the 5 to 7 top platforms that are out there: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. So yeah, come give us a follow, and we'd love to answer any calls you might have.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. To close, I'd like to ask one last question. Since this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast, and you, as a business leader, owner of Caliber, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Um, that we did it right. Yeah, just do it right. Everyone knows what that is inside themselves. Just don't get skewed by society or the chase of the money, or you know persuaded by the what's out there. Just do it right. We want to be known that we're those guys.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think just based off your answers, with how much you prioritize that experience for your customers, I think you're doing it.
Thank
So,
you.
well, thank you, Brad. I really appreciate it. For everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe. Again, this is the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast.